Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to Keeping Score at Lazy, where we keep tabs on everything NBA related. Today, we're going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets, and you might be asking, why are we talking about the Charlotte Hornets? They're having a terrible season. That is correct. In today's episode, we're going to talk about everything that's gone wrong for the Hornets. We're going to go over what happened in the offseason. We're going to talk about injuries. We're going to talk about coaching. We're going to talk about the trade deadline. We're going to cover all our bases. So past, present, and future of the Charlotte Hornets. We're going to cover all our basics. Now, you might be asking, what even sparked my interest to talk about the Hornets? Well, recently, ESPN put out this little graphic talking about teams in position to get Victor Wembanyama. Oh, I got that right on the first try. You might be asking, who is Victor Wembanyama? Well, he's a draft prospect overseas. He's playing in France. Actually, he's on the G League Ignite team, and he's playing great right now. And he's pretty much a lock to be the number one pick this year. So obviously, a lot of teams want him. He's what they consider a unicorn. He can do a little bit of everything, and it's really remarkable considering the player of his size. So, as I mentioned, the Charlotte Hornets, they're a team in position to get Victor Wembanyama. And why are they in position? Well, it's because they're playing terrible. And what's gone wrong for the Hornets? Well, step one, I think the first thing that went wrong for the Hornets was the hiring of Steve Clifford. Now, if you don't know who Steve Clifford is, he's a coach who's a defensive-minded coach, and he's already coached the Hornets before. Michael Jordan, who owns the Charlotte Hornets, he doesn't have the best track record, okay? He doesn't have the best track record when it comes to drafting players, picking coaches, and even at times picking GMs. Steve Clifford, for me, isn't the right coach for the Hornets because, as I said, he's a defensive-minded coach, and most of his players on his roster are more skilled offensively. If it was me, personally, I think a guy like Mike D'Antoni should have got a chance. Mike D'Antoni's known for running great offenses, and I think with all the weapons around him, I think he would have been able to succeed. A lot of people out there don't like Mike D'Antoni. I do. I think he would have been great for this job. But he wasn't hired for it. So as I mentioned, Steve Clifford was brought in to help the team defensively, and things have not been going great for the Hornets. We have plenty of graphics in today's episode, and I'm going to share some of them now. So the Hornets, they're at the bottom of the East when it comes to winning. They're in the bottom of the East when it comes to offense and defense. They're failing at all cylinders. And let's go over some of the reasons why they might be failing. Well, their star player, Lamelo Ball, who is one of the most talented, young, bright stars in this league, who has a lot of potential, he was sidelined early with an ankle injury. So because of his ankle injury, he missed a lot of time. He's missed 19 games specifically. He's recently returned back to the lineup, and things aren't going great. Although they got back, the Hornets got back their star player, they're still losing. Now, LaMelo, he's putting up 23, 8, and 5. Those are great numbers. But one knock against LaMelo Ball is he doesn't play defense, and it's kind of being whispered that he's not the most vocal leader out there. So because of his lack of defense, his time he's missed, his lack of leadership, things aren't really going great for the Hornets. Now, I'm not going to knock LaMelo Ball. I think he's still a young player. I think the ceiling is still very high for him, or the ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan might say. And I think he has still a lot of room to improve. But I don't think he's the main reason why the team is losing. He wasn't the only player injured. Now, one player I am going to knock that has been injured is Gordon Hayward. Now, Gordon Hayward was a great player on the Jazz. On the Celtics, he was injured there as well. He had some games where he played great. But overall, Gordon Hayward's been injury prone throughout his career. Right now on the Hornets, he's making a lot of money. And honestly, I think he's a player they can move on from. This year, he hasn't played well at all. In fact, we have his numbers here. Gordon Hayward's averaging 13, 4, and 3. It's not very good. I think the Hornets should be sellers coming up in this trade deadline, and he's one player they should definitely move on from. Now, one player that was playing great before he got injured was Tsunami Papi Kelly Oubre Jr. That's right. With so many players out, Kelly Oubre Jr. took on a bigger role, and he was doing great at it. And matter of fact, we have his numbers here. He was averaging 25 and 1. That's pretty good. He was succeeding. He was living up to his role. Although the team wasn't winning, he was carrying a lot of the weight offensively. So it really sucked that he went down with a hand injury, and he's going to be out about 4 to 6 weeks. So it's terrible news for the Hornets there. one of the players that was playing good is now out. Now, one player that hasn't had many injuries and that's played decent is Terry Rozier. He's averaging 21, 5, and 4. Terry Rozier is a pretty good player. He's had big playoff moments with the Celtics as well, similar to Gordon Hayward. On the Hornets, he's been a solid contributor, and he's one guy that Michael Jordan likes a lot. I don't really see the Hornets moving on from him, but it could happen. And with that being said, let's go ahead and just transition over to the NBA trade deadline. Now, with the trade deadline coming up, I believe the Hornets should be sellers. The Hornets have all these great players, but it's not really working. They don't really fit this coach's system. Some of them are getting older. A lot of them make a lot of money. I believe the Hornets should be sellers and just continue this tank race for Victor Wembanyama. Now, let's talk about some of the players that they could trade. Mason Plumlee. Now, if you don't have League Pass or if you're not a big Hornets fan, you might not know much about Mason Plumlee, but right now he's currently averaging 11, 9, and 3. Great player, great numbers, pretty solid. A contender could use him. I live in Sacramento, so my mind is always set on the Kings, and I believe strongly Mason Plumlee is a player that the Kings could use because they are another team that has great offense but not great defense. So that's one destination for him, but I think a lot of different contenders should make a move for Mason Plumlee. Now, segue from Mason Plumlee to another center or big man power forward on their team is Nick Richards. He's averaging 8 and 5, and I believe if he got a bigger role in the team and got more minutes, I believe he could put up some even better numbers. He's a young player, and I think he, like a lot of the Hornets players, has a lot of potential. So that's that. Segue to the next player that I believe the Hornets will, now I believe they will trade this guy, is P.J. Washington. P.J. Washington, he's a good player. He's averaging 15, 4, and 2. And he's a guy that can really contribute to a lot of contending teams out there. I think he has a lot of room to grow. I think he's been a solid player, and I think a lot of teams could use him. As I mentioned, he's averaging 15, 4, and 2. That's not bad at all, and I think he could help a lot of different teams. So we talked a little bit about injuries. We talked about Lamelo Ball's injury, Gordon Hayward's injury, Kelly Oubre's injury. We got to talk a little bit about the off-court controversy, and this is really a sad part of the video for me. Miles Bridges, he was one of my favorite players. He was really doing great, and as a matter of fact, he was the Hornets' leading scorer. But unfortunately, this summer, he got into a little domestic violence issue. I don't want to say little. I don't want to downplay it. This is something we definitely don't tolerate. Definitely something that was sad to see. Definitely something really unfortunate because a lot of teams out there, they were interested in Miles Bridges, and he's really just taken the wrong turn in his career. There's rumors out there that the Hornets might bring him back. There's rumors out there that the Hornets might shop him. I don't know what's going to happen with Miles Bridges, but the whole situation is very unfortunate. Another person that's had some off-court controversy is James Bouknight. James Bouknight was found passed out in his car with a weapon on him. Because of that, his playing time has been reduced. He hasn't had a big role with the team, with the Hornets. And he's recently started playing again, but he's done so little that I didn't even want to put up his numbers because he's not really contributing. He's not having a big impact at all. So with that being said, those are two off-court issues that the Hornets have had with Miles Bridges and James Bouknight. So what's the future for the Hornets? I believe that they should continue to tank. I don't think they should try to get in the play-in. They've already lost in the play-in twice. I think they should just tank. Try to go after Victor Wembanyama. I believe Victor will help them defensively because he's a big man. He's about 7 foot. His wingspan is crazy. Offensively, he can stretch the floor. He can hit threes. He can dribble. He can do a little bit of everything, honestly, which is really crazy for his side. And he's a generational player. Obviously, you got to be concerned about him getting injured. He could be like Chet Holmgren this year, a guy that goes high in the draft but gets hurt because of his size and his body frame. But obviously, I think that's what they should do. I think they should just tank, go after Victor, forget all this playing nonsense, and I think they should be sellers at the NBA trade deadline. I believe they should move on from guys like Gordon Hayward, give up Mason Plumlee, and see what they can get back in return. But with that being said, that's the end of the video. Let me know your comments and what you guys think. Let me know what you think is going to happen with Miles Bridges. Let me know what you think about Lamelo Ball. Do you think he's overrated and that he shouldn't be the cornerstone of that team? Let me know what you think about Steve Clifford. Like I said, I was pretty hard on Steve Clifford. I don't believe he's the right coach for that team. But, you know, I'm not the owner. Michael Jordan is, and he continues to make mistakes if you ask me. So with that being said, leave some comments. If you have good comments, I'll integrate it into the next video. And with that being said, we kept score today. We kept score with the Hornets. We kept track of everything that's going on with the team. And overall, I can't wait to hear what you guys think. So with that being said, you guys have a good one. Don't forget to like. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Share this video with your friends. And thanks again for even watching the video. So have a good one.